Namaste and welcome to our flow for middle and front splits. We're going to begin today in low lunge on our right side. So when you meet me here, we're going to make sure the knee is directly over the ankle. You're sinking the hips towards the mat, tucking your tailbone under here, and we're just going to take some pulses, really stretching out the psoas here, breathing deeply into that hip opening. Place your right hand down beside you and lift your left arm over your head, stretching your side body out, really opening the psoas here. Maybe taking that left hand to the opposite side of the knee, pushing the knee slightly away to the left side, really opening the psoas. And then coming back to center, back to those pulses. Place your left hand to the mat and flex your left foot and draw the heel in towards the glute. Reach back and grab the ankle when you're ready, pointing the toes now, and draw the heel as close towards the glute as you can, stretching out the psoas yet again, allowing the hips to sink towards the mat, pulsing that foot towards the glute, really sinking those hips low. And then releasing that leg back and placing our right hand back to the mat. Push your hips back, coming into a half split pose, folding over that leg, keeping that leg straight, hips are square to the top of the mat. We're going to point and then flex the foot, really opening up the hamstring and the calf muscle, bringing the nose towards the knee if you can. Slowly walk both your hands over to the right side, folding diagonally over that leg. This really stretches out the inner thigh and lower back. Then come back to center and continue to stretch out that hamstring, pointing and then flexing, finding that mobility. Then pushing forward into our low lunge, heel toe our foot to the opposite side of the mat and allow our shin to come towards the mat, coming into pigeon pose. Place your hands on your front leg and slowly tuck the pelvis under, rounding the spine, lifting the hips off of the mat. Exhale and lower, doing this round of cat-cow a few times in this pigeon pose. This really stretches out the psoas muscle. Slowly begin to come out of our pigeon pose, placing our hands to the mat and coming back to the back of the mat. When you're ready, we're going to step the left leg forward this time, coming into our low lunge, beginning with those pulses, placing our hands on our front knee for extra stability. Then reaching our right arm over top of our head, stretching out the right side body and the psoas. Reaching as far as you can, maybe taking that twist, placing that right hand to the opposite side of the knee. Really stretch out that psoas, breathing deeply in this stretch here. And then making your way back to center when you're ready. We're next going to take that quad stretch, so placing that right hand down to the mat and then reaching for that ankle. Flexing the foot first and drawing that heel towards the glute. Then point the toes and grab the ankle, pulling the heel towards the glute if you can, sinking the hips low, stretching out the quad and the psoas here. Release the foot and place the hand back down to the mat. Exhale, push your hips back and straighten out that left leg, coming into our half split posture. Pointing and then flexing the foot, really stretching and elongating that hamstring and calf muscle. Folding over that leg, keeping the hips square to the top of the mat. And then when you keep your foot flexed, we're slowly going to walk so we fold diagonally over that leg, folding over to that left side, again stretching out the inner thigh and lower back here. And then coming back to center when you're ready, Stretching out the hamstring yet again, folding over that leg, nose to knee if you can. Then pushing forward into low lunge and heel toe that foot to the opposite side of the mat, coming into our pigeon pose, again keeping our hips square to the top of the mat. You can take those few rounds of cat-cow just to stretch the psoas further, really opening up the hip flexor here, finding strength, or just stay static, finding that mobility in the hips. Coming to the back of the mat once again, we're now going to practice our front splits. Coming up into a high kneeling position, step your right leg forward, flexing the foot in a half split. Slowly begin to lower that leg, bringing your hips towards the mat, pointing the front toes, settling into our front splits on our right side. Making sure our hips are square. Feel free to play around in this pose, maybe folding over that front leg, keeping the hips tucked under, tailbone tucked under, and navel into the spine. Then stepping back into our high kneeling position, taking a quick break, and then we're going to repeat that on the left leg. So coming into our half split, flex the foot, and slowly lower the hips towards the mat, placing your hands down beside you for stability. Point the front toes and feel free to play around yet again in our front splits, holding here for a few seconds. Now coming back up into our kneeling position, coming back into half splits before, and then come to the back of the mat. Make your way to the center of the mat now. We're going to practice our middle splits this time. Coming first into a straddle pose, keeping our legs as wide as we can, flexing the feet. We're just going to find comfort in this position first before we fold. Maybe pulsing our legs backwards and forwards, opening up the inner thighs, making sure our legs are straight. And then exhale, begin to fold, taking this actively if you can, bringing your chest towards the mat or reaching for your ankles and lowering your chin towards the mat. Staying here for a few moments. Straighten up the spine now, and we're going to take an internal rotation on our right leg, sending that foot back behind us, coming into a half frog pose. This is super effective for opening up the inner thighs and gaining that 180-degree opening for our middle splits. Staying here for a few seconds, keeping our foot flexed, maybe resting the foot down on the mat or keeping the toes pointed to the sky. Slowly bend the other leg this time into an internal rotation, and we're going to take a full frog here, folding again. I want you to pulse your hips up and down, really stretching out the glutes. Again, as we fold, this will get easier for you, flexing the foot, keeping that 90-degree angle. Come back up onto our hands, and this time extending out the right leg, flexing the foot, resting the foot on the mat or toes to the sky, pushing our hips towards the mat. Again, you can fold here if you want, stretching out the inner thighs and hips. Now extending out both legs, keeping our feet flexed, pushing our hips towards the mat, staying on our hands. If you want to make this easier, you can fold here. Keep your toes pointing towards the sky, stretching out those inner thighs, staying here for as long as you can. Slowly walk your legs in towards each other, coming out of our middle split. We're going to end the practice by saying together, Namaste. Thank you for joining me.